Are you allowed to have favourites? I'm not sure you are.
It's like children, you're not allowed to have a favourite.
Oh, I definitely have favourite clients. I'm not going to reveal who they are, but definitely favourite clients.
Well, welcome to the podcast, Katie. It's good to have you here.
Thank you very much.
You are a partner. You are the co-head of our consumer product team. Is that correct?
Consumer and retail.
Consumer and retail. And you also do a podcast called LeadHers. Maybe we could start with that.
You're on our podcast, thank you. You also host your own podcast. Can you tell us a little bit about that? What your favourite bit is, why it came about?
We've been doing the LeadHers podcast for a few years, and it has come out of the campaign that we run called LeadHers, which is in connection with our CMS Equip programme. And the campaign's basically around supporting female founders of startup and scale-up businesses. Because we started the Equip programme, we were supporting a lot of startup businesses, but we realised that we were predominantly supporting male-founded businesses, and we wanted to do something to readdress the balance. So we decided to start the campaign LeadHers, and the podcast was part of that. And the idea is really to amplify the voices of the female founders that we have on Equip, and then also other people in the ecosystem who are either starting businesses or working specifically to support female entrepreneurship. So we've had people talking about their fundraising journey, which is a really, really important topic for female entrepreneurs. But equally, we've had people talking about issues they've had in hiring, about mentoring, about teamwork, or just specifically about their business, where they might be in a particular inflection point where they've grown in a certain way and they want to shout about it. So the idea is they set the agenda, they say what they want to talk about, and then we have the conversation. And yeah, it's good fun.
That's very interesting. In terms of gender impacting fundraising and all those things, what are some of the themes that come out of those conversations? What is the difference for like a male and a female founder in terms of these kind of things?
There's a huge amount out there in the public domain about access to funding for female-funded businesses. I don't know the current stats, but it's pretty poor. It's something like 2% of funding goes to female funded businesses. It's a very, very small proportion, or sole female funded businesses. And so part of LeadHers was around having those conversations. But what we're really trying to focus on is positives rather than negatives, because we don't think it's very helpful to continue the conversation and say, oh, woe is me, it's so hard being a female entrepreneur. What we want to do is be positive about the amazing female founded businesses that are out there and try and support them to grow. And in the time that we've been running the podcast, definitely the ecosystem has changed. There is more funding available at the very, very early stages for specifically female funded businesses. There's a lot more focus on that now, where we're seeing some more of the challenges around the scale up. So I think there are lots of accelerators and funds that have been set up to help with those really early stages. But actually, when you need the capital once you've gone through those early stages, that's where there's still a bit of a funding gap. And anything we can do to continue the conversation around that is what the campaign's all about.
What's your favourite part of it? What do you get out of doing Equip and LeadHers?
Do we need to quickly explain to the listeners what Equip is? Maybe.
Great point, Bram. Yeah.
Well.
Sure. So Equip is a programme that we run at CMS across multiple jurisdictions, but the biggest part of the programme is in London. And it's a way that we specifically work with startup and scale-up tech businesses. So it's a membership-based programme. It runs for 3 years. You have to pitch to come on. So the idea is that they're presenting to us, and sometimes we say no. And they come onto the programme for 3 years and they get access to discounted legal advice. So it's a way of us organising the way we work with startups, offering them something that we wouldn't be able to offer if they came to us as a normal client. And it's about creating a community and creating a long-lasting relationship. The idea being that they start with us small and they grow very, very fast. And when they come off the programme, they're at the point where they are, a bigger client and able to, pay normal fees, but that we've got in there early. Because what we were finding was that there are, all these amazing tech businesses growing very, very fast. But if you come to them at the point where they're looking at an exit, they've already got lawyers that have been advising them for years, who know them really, really well. And particularly with fast-growing businesses, it's often very messy. And they will have, done some things not quite so well, skipped a few steps here and there. And they don't want to then go to another law firm. And so we found that it was quite difficult for us to break in. And what we really needed to do was be very organised about how we worked with them from the beginning so that we could have those long-lasting relationships. And of course, it feeds actually really nicely into the firm-wide strategy of being the relationship law firm. It's about that long-term relationship, albeit that these are, much, much smaller clients than the big clients that many parts of the firm work with.
Do you reckon that's also part of the funding gap between male and female founders? Is that maybe it's still a bit of a boys' club, and a lot of the relationships are between men, and that basically it's giving women an admission ticket, basically.
Yeah, I mean, there definitely is there are those issues, those kind of systemic issues that are there. It's very well documented again that female investors tend to invest in female businesses, whereas male investors are more likely to invest in male-led businesses. And there is a paucity of women who are investors in VCs. So there are many different and very complex issues that feed into why there is a funding gap. And the government funded a number of years ago a very, very big study into female entrepreneurship called the Rose Review, which set out some recommendations which are being worked on. But as with anything, it takes a really, really long time to affect change.
What gives you hope?
When I talk to female entrepreneurs who are, starting and running absolutely incredible businesses, doing really interesting things. And I think there is a lot of positivity. And that's what gives me hope, is talking to them and seeing what they're building and seeing how exciting that is. But I mean, there's no getting around. It's hard, but it's hard for anyone to run a business. It's tough. But there are some amazing, entrepreneurs out there. And of course, lots of amazing male entrepreneurs as well.
Yeah, I was thinking about female leadership and saw that, I think it was yesterday or the day before, that it came out that it's still only 9%. So that's 9 women in the FTSE 100. And there's a lot more, close to 40% in terms of directors overall, but 9% in terms of CEOs and the senior leadership. What do you think of that? What do you think is going on?
I think the efforts that have been made to bring in women as non-executive directors have been fantastic. Yeah. And that has made a really big difference. We're still not there. Women are 50% of the population and not 50% of board directors or non-executive directors. So we've got a way to go there. CEOs, we're still a long, long way to go. And we just have to kind of, keep going, keep going. And, I think if you take our business as a kind of microcosm of that, in the time that, we've been working here, there's been a big change. We've got lots more women in leadership and more conscious thought about diversity within leadership. So we are seeing that change, but yeah, it is still slow. Yeah,
and you sort of hope that pipeline of the 40-ish% that are in the non-CEO levels kind of slowly work their way up totally. And maybe you've got a daughter, right, as well. So I wonder if our daughters will have a different experience.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's not just about your daughters, it's about your sons as well,
and
isn't
my
it?
sons, yes.
And that's actually one of the things that I think we've always been very focused on, is there's no point women sitting in a room talking to each other. It needs to be a conversation that everyone is, in. And that's the same for all forms of diversity. Yeah. If you're just talking amongst yourselves, you're in an echo chamber and, you're not necessarily the people that need to change. It's the wider community. So you have to be having those conversations with everyone. And I probably talk to my son far more about, things to do with, feminism and supporting women than I probably do with my daughter, to be honest, because I feel like, he needs to be the one who's, being the advocate as a male ally.
I totally.
Especially with so many leaders still being male, they're the gatekeepers at the moment, at least still. You're a successful woman, co-head of a team and a corporate partner and so on. What tips do you have for young women starting their career and kind of maybe aspiring to become what you are?
Oh, that's a hard one. My biggest tip is probably, it's probably not what you would expect me to say. And, I could say things like, you need to be, putting yourself forward for, these types of, matters, talking to the right people. Actually, for me, I think the thing that has enabled me to be successful is making the right choice in my life partner. Because without having that support at home and having that understanding that I have a big and demanding job, and therefore we need to have a very gender balanced setup at home, and having the full support of my partner, I wouldn't be able to do what I do. And actually, for me, that's my biggest tip, is making sure, choosing the right life partner for you to then be able to kind of fly.
Don't marry a loser. That's the Instagram trend, by the way. That's not my words.
I was thinking, and that's part of, I remember reading Sheryl Sandberg's book a while ago, and I think she also mentions that it's almost like the partner you choose is in itself a career choice. And that's just not spoken or sort of honestly about. And I guess it's about having those honest conversations about it.
Because I don't try to do everything.
Yeah.
And that sort of myth that, for anyone, you can do everything, whether you're a man or a woman, it's just not true.
Yeah.
I do less than 50% at home because my job is more demanding than my husband's. And that's what makes it work. And, there are times, in any relationship where there are ebbs and flows and, you may need to lean in more at home or, to use the Sheryl Sandberg term, or lean in more at work. But there's always been an understanding between us that my job would require my husband to make a really big commitment to our family and to our home life, and that it couldn't be me doing, all the domestic stuff, all the organisation, everything at home. And so that's what makes it work. And if you don't have a partner who understands that, I think it's very, very hard to do a high-performing job like ours. And that is the same for the men. There are very, very few of our successful male partners who, do more than 50% at home, because it's hard. Our jobs are hard.
Yeah. I think it's one of the sort of modern problems of thinking back to when I was growing up as well, thinking that you could just do it all at all times. And I think it's the same, as you said, for men and women. And it reminds me of, I feel like all my bedside reading was like Michelle Obama's book, and Sheryl Sandberg's book is coming out. But when Michelle Obama talks about you can have it all, you just can't have it all at the same time. And that's something that I have, when trying to balance family, life, work, really kind of thought about.
Yeah, and it's about being, kind to yourself.
Yeah.
I read a really interesting article in the FT a couple of weeks ago, which was talking about birth rates and falling birth rates. And what it was saying is that the link between how many children a woman has and the general culture around what men do at home is completely linked. And it's also linked to educational, whether you're a graduate or postgraduate. The more education you have, the less likely, or the lower number you have of children you're likely to have, because of balancing the two. And then the further impact is, do you live in a culture where, there's a less fixed expectation around who will do all the unpaid work at home, and that has a direct impact on birth rates. And so if we want to increase birth rates, what we need to be doing is changing the culture around who does the work at home and making that, more 50-50, because then more women will be willing to have more children. I thought that was super interesting.
Makes so much sense when you put it like that, right? You're like, yeah, of course. But when you're living through it, it's hard sometimes to know what's really going on. I mean, you mentioned you have a demanding, career, you've got the family. What gives you joy in it? How do you keep sort of so joyous? Whenever I see you, you always seem to be enjoying what you're doing.
I do love what I do. I think probably, you catch me on the good days. I mean, I don't have good days every single day.
Of course.
I love my job. I've always loved my job. And I think you do have to love your job to do the jobs that we do, because if you didn't love it, I mean, what are you doing it for? You're torturing yourself. I really love the project based nature of the work I do. I get involved with a transaction, and it's something that has a positive outcome. We are trying to, we might be trying to sell a business for a client, and so it's a positive outcome in most cases because they're moving on, they're getting hopefully a meaningful sum as a result of it, or you're acting for a buyer and you're buying something and looking to build something new. And so there's something positive coming out of the transaction. But ultimately, we're kind of, building something together. And then I tie it up with a little nice bow and I put it to one side and I move on to the next thing. And I really like that nature of my work. And I suppose, that's what kind of, keeps me going.
Do you have anything that you... that gives you peace of mind, that makes you relax in between the high pressured projects? Because obviously some of them can be very, very stressful, I imagine, some of these corporate deals and M&A and so on. What do you do to unwind?
So I run. That really, really helps. So I'm a big runner. Spend time with my family. I watch a lot of terrible TV.
Great. What's your favourite?
Oh, anything, really trashy.
Where are you at the moment?
Well, Bridgerton comes out
I was about
tonight.
to say, I'm already excited about the Bridgerton.
Yes.
And I'm trying to schedule when I can pretend that I'm doing something very important, like watching Bridgerton.
Will she become the mistress or not? That's the big
Oh,
question.
Have you watched it as well? I don't know why I was doubting you. Sorry, I didn't know that Bridgerton was...
A lot of it gets recorded right where I live. I live next to the Naval College in Greenwich.
Wow.
And the first 10 seconds of season 2 of Bridgerton, I'm actually behind one of the columns. You can't see me, but I know I'm behind the specific
That feels
column.
like an urban myth. I'm going to go home and find...
Yeah, wow. I'm very jealous.
Yeah.
In the first season, I watched the first few episodes, and it's very historical. I really loved it, and then I recommended it to everyone, to my gran and to my mum and whatever. And then it gets quite raunchy after, but it's only a few episodes in, and I felt very awkward.
Yes.
I'd recommended it to so many people.
Well, especially when they then see you at the beginning of season 2, you just said as well, for the 10 seconds.
Yes.
They're like, Brad's really into this Bridgerton.
He's really into it. He's
set
weirdly
up, and I'm
into
not
it.
sure. I don't know how that goes with your brand, but yeah.
It's a great show.
It is a great show. So other than Bridgerton, are there any other top recommendations?
I don't watch anything that is scary or sad or anything where they use the word grit to describe it.
I'm the
Gritty
same.
drama. I'm like, no, this is not for
with
me.
you.
No,
100% with
I
you.
need to. I like to live in my positivity bubble.
Yeah.
And I like my TV watching. I quite like a kind of, a terrible action film. I really love Marvel. We love Marvel as a family, so we watch a lot of Marvel. But yes, the kind of trashy romance stuff, and then the sort of action, machine guns.
Yeah.
But everything's fine at the end, sort of thing.
I think that's where like Bake Off really comes into its own as well, as a just sort of like it's just a cake, but yet you can get into it for that minute. So yeah, I totally get that. And what about podcasts? Given that you have your own and you're on ours, do you have any favourite podcasts?
I can't think.
Desert Island Discs?
No.
Oh, I would highly recommend.
Oh, would you?
Yes.
Is that a podcast now?
Yes.
Because that's a very old radio thing, isn't it? Or am I...
Define a podcast. Something that's on the radio as a programme? I don't know. It's on the radio. I listen to it. Yes, it's a podcast.
Well, I think if you can listen to it,
exactly.
on Spotify or something like that.
Philosophical about it. What is a podcast?
Yeah.
Really, to answer that
What is
question.
life?
What is life? But it's brilliant. And in fact, we thought about having a sort of music element, but as being lawyers here, like the rights issues would just be so painful to try and get the music of like the Beatles in the background. But yes, and Emily Maitlis, I find that's my favourite.
What would be your Desert Island disc then?
Right now?
Yeah, well, you must have thought about it.
I actually haven't thought about it. No. What would be any top?
So at the moment, I'm listening to K-pop Demon Hunters quite a lot because not only is it positive, but I really love it for running. Because it's quite fast, and so that's quite a good one. I'm quite a big fan of Imagine Dragons, so that would probably, one of theirs would probably be on there. I love Stevie Wonder and kind of all the old stuff.
Yeah.
I've got quite eclectic music taste, so I think I would find it really, really hard to just pick a few.
Yeah, it makes me want to do the Desert Island things. We're big on K-pop in my house because my 6-year-old is completely obsessed with it on every level. Have you come across K-pop?
I watched Demon K-pop Hunters a few weeks ago because our goddaughters are really into it, and I really enjoyed the film. Actually, it's a quite good film. It's well made, and some of the songs, especially the Bad Guys song, is very catchy.
Yeah,
I feel a bit guilty for loving the Bad Guys song, which if you've seen the film,
I think that's fine.
I think it's you do you. That's okay.
Right,
Yeah.
There's
That's
a dark side in me.
Exactly. How would you describe working at CMS? What's your favourite thing?
I've been here a long time. So this year is actually my 20th year, if you count all the time that I had with Olswang before the merger.
Congratulations.
So that's a long time.
Yeah.
To stay in one organisation, it's a long time. And it's all about the people. It's all about the relationships with the people and the relationships with the clients.
So you work consumer products and retail. I imagine you have quite a lot of fun sectors and fun little businesses, right? Do you have a favorite there? Do you have like a cookie business that you particularly love, or are you allowed to have favorites? I'm not sure you are.
It's like children. You're not allowed to have a favourite.
Oh, I definitely have favourite clients. I'm not going to reveal who they are, but definitely favourite clients. I'm really lucky. I work in the sectors I do because I find them interesting. So my practice is probably half and half consumer and retail and TMT. And on the consumer and retail side, I get to work with some really interesting businesses. And what's so nice is they're absolutely accessible because, you know, you can go out and you can buy their products or you can see their products. And then on the TMT side, that's completely different, but also really exciting because lots of those businesses are doing very, very interesting and exciting things with technology, or from a telecoms perspective, that's also, you know, got a B2C element to it. So yes, there are lots of interesting clients, and I do have my favourites, but I'm not going to reveal them. But the favourites are, it's the people again. It's the people that I really like working with at the clients. It's not necessarily their businesses, but it's around the relationship I have with them, the work I do with them, and how we work together. You know, yes, the underlying businesses are interesting, but actually the favourite clients, it's because of the relationship I have with them personally.
Yeah. I completely see that. It is quite interesting to see that relationships are kind of the foundation of everything in your life, right? When we talked about Equip and startups, is about giving them the right relationships. When we asked you about what makes you successful, it is actually your relationships. So I think it's quite encouraging, I find, that we as a firm are also doubling down on the relationship bit, because I think it doesn't only make us stronger as a business, but just makes us a little bit happier, I think.
Well, it's kind of it's the core of humanity, isn't it? You know, it's the whole purpose of our lives is around our relationships with each other and that sense of connection and belonging, and that's what makes us human. That's what makes, you know, life interesting. And, you know, if all else falls away, the most important thing is your relationships with the people, you know, around you, whether that's your relationships at home or, you know, your relationships at work. You know, if you don't have good relationships, you know, then what do you have? So yeah, it's absolutely at the core of who I am, actually, as a person. And I think it's the most important thing, absolutely the most important thing. Nothing, by comparison, nothing else matters.
Yeah, I love that. That's
yeah,
actually
so nicely put. I mean, it's like a manifesto that I would sign up to.
Yeah.
And totally agree with.
It's a shame we don't have music now, right? This would be quite a nice nice one to end on.
Yes,
with some music now.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for coming, Katie. Really enjoyed our
Really
chat.
interesting. Thank you.
And then for those who are listening to this podcast and haven't checked out LeadHers yet, where can they find LeadHers?
It's on the CMS, on our external website.
cms.law.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And it's really good.